Sean, what are you talking about? What do you mean Back in Black is the greatest love song of all time? What is that? That doesn't mean. We'll talk about this later. Show's live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Differently Wired Show. Good to be with you again. My name, of course, is Maximilian Derrat, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be with you all once again. And as always, joining me, he is PhD. Legend has it that if you rub his beard, you'll have a life of fortune. I can't.
That's really true.
Oh, that is. Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go. That's the confirmation. He is John Tucker. John, what's popping?
Good evening, Max. Of course, the news of the world has been all week kind of scary. Good time for us to not focus on it, but it's top of mind everywhere.
Well, great. Now it's at the top of my mind because you brought it up. Well,
yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean, we were kind of talking about it before the show. But yeah, 2020 hasn't been that great yet. I mean, so far the last 2 weeks. Although,
yeah,
you know, I'm trying to stay positive about the whole thing because one thing I am looking forward to, especially about 2020, is there's a lot of badass video games that are going to be coming out in March and April and May. So that's all good.
I can scarcely wait.
I can tell. I can sense the enthusiasm in your voice.
Oh, yeah, I'm over the moon.
Listen, everybody. Let's just do all the usual stuff first before we get into the main topic. So, first of all, we got a Facebook page. I see a bunch of you have actually been liking it and actually listening to what John and I have been saying. Thank you so much for doing that. And I also want to give a special shout out, like I said I would do last week on this show, to the people that were sending us in some kind messages through the Facebook page and wishing us a Happy New Year. One of them is Elio. He said, Merry Christmas, and I got a graphic up here for you guys to see. Merry Christmas to you. Just releasing part 2 of an article for Psych today about why we love psychological horror video games and how they benefit people. Again, you heavily influenced this, and I thank you for that. Well, thank you very much to you, Elio. I mean, like, I know you see my response there, but I just want to show some of the nice things that people have been saying, just so we can boost the feeling of positivity and, you know, not focus on the terrible things that have been happening this past week. And also, another one from Julio. He says, Merry Christmas to Max and all the team behind the show. Thank you for the amazing job you have done through the year. It really helps all of us, and it makes the world a better place. I agree. And what really helps make the world a whole better place is the amazing community that we have here. And you're one of the amazing members that we have, Julio. So thank you. And I hope one day that I could meet you down by the schoolyard. At any schoolyard, just so, you know, we can fulfill the prophecy of the prophet Paul Simon. Not Art Garfunkel, screw him. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, thank you very much to you guys. And also, there were a whole bunch of people that were sending me messages on Twitter and Discord, just saying Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you to all of you. I did respond to you, but just sort of doing this to promote the Facebook page. Also, speaking of Discord, we do have one. We're still on the way to 1,000 members. Thank you all to everybody that's been joining. Listen, if you haven't joined yet, I honestly don't know why. Like, it's one of the most... I love everybody that's in my Discord server. I love going in to hang out with you guys from time to time, see what's going on. What's going on in your neck of the woods, how you've been keeping positive, what games you're playing, what stuff you got working on. Just love seeing what you guys are doing. Also, one thing that we actually added to the Discord server, what was it? Oh yeah, it was yesterday that we added this. If you're overseas, because there are a lot of people that are in the Discord server that don't live in North America, that speak multiple languages and are looking to learn new languages. Usually it's English, but there are other ones. Well, we did just add a new section of chats in the server. If you look, like if you see on the left-hand side of your screen right there, you see all the categories and then the text chats. We added a new one. And if you're looking to learn English or practice French or Spanish, any of the Scandinavian languages, we have chats for that right now. So go in there. They're pretty active. I'm kind of surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised. But
well, I'm surprised. I didn't know you were doing that at all. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it is. And I actually practiced my French a little bit with a couple people in there yesterday. It was fun. So yeah, if that sounds entertaining and enlightening to you, please go check that out. Sorry, I got now that I got two monitors, and I'm sort of distracted by the fact that the chat is on the other side. Well, just very quickly, I'll just say hi to you guys. Hi, Nick. Good to see you. 4 and 20 Deadbird says, "Hope you're feeling better, Max." I'm getting there, dog. I'm getting there. I don't know how to
You see
pronounce
that
that.
post from Supreme Theory, who's binge watching.
Glad to be watching live for once. Drifted out of listening for ages and over the last 2 to 3. Binge watching for episode 7? Dude, you the man. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that you're getting so much out of them that you feel the need to binge watch them. Well, binge listen.
I never thought, Max, you'd be competition for Netflix, but there you go.
Or that anybody would want to binge watch some of the stuff that I produce. I mean,
well, there you go.
I just imagine that'd leave people depressed, but not this show, but you get the point. I'm just joking. But yeah, seriously, Discord server,
Wonderful.
there's a link to it in the description box below. We'd love to have you there. I'd love to be able to talk with you at some point. All right. Also, Subscribestar account. If you like the stuff that I do on my channel and you like the stuff that John and I do for the Differently Wired show and you'd like to support us financially, there is a link to my Subscribestar page down below. If you don't know what Subscribestar is, it's basically Patreon, where you can donate money to creators for the work that they do if you want to. The reason why I choose Subscribestar over Patreon is, I won't get into all of it. Let's just say that there's some unethical business practices going on over at Patreon that I wish more people would know about. And why does the graphic look weird like that? Wow, that was just my ADHD acting up. There I go. I fixed it. So if you like the stuff that we do here and you'd like to see it continue into the very far future, please consider going over to the Subscribestar account. Like I said, there's a link to it in the description box below. And depending on how much you donate, even if you donate as little as $1, you'll get the requisite rewards for each tier. And finally, unlike last week, there will be an after show after this show. One of the rewards that you get on Subscribestar, it's one of the cheapest rewards that you can get, is we have an after show for the Differently Wired show. And the after show, basically what it is when the show is done, I go into the Discord server, I go into, if you look on the screen right now, I go into the very bottom chat there, which says after show, and then I just hang out with you guys for an hour. We talk about whatever is on your mind. If you had anything you wanted to ask me directly, if you wanted to talk about any like mental health topics or games or whatever, we just hang out. So, with that out of the way, John, this topic was actually suggested to us a while back by one of the Discord server users who goes by the name Psionic Blades. Thank you very much for suggesting this to us. First of all, John, before we sort of go into detail about what psychosomatic symptoms are and the ways that they manifest, let me just sort of set things up a little bit for you guys. So, as 4 and 20 Dead Bird said earlier on, he's taken note of some of the posts that I've made on Discord and on Twitter about how I haven't been feeling well as of late. I'm going to sort of explain what all that is about. Before I do, though, I just want to let you guys know that everything's going good. So when I'm about to say, don't dread what's going to come after that. Everything's fine. Over the last couple of weeks or so, I've been experiencing some symptoms that are oddly enough tightly correlated with that of diabetes. I've been having really I won't go into all of them because some of them are embarrassing, but like dry mouth, weakness, that sort of thing. And so I went to get my blood tested, and thankfully everything's good. There's no sign of it. My sugar's all good. Actually, oddly enough, I'm pretty much pretty physically healthy. I do have a bit of a spike in cholesterol, but that's easily manageable. And there aren't really any symptoms to cholesterol. At least that's what my doctor told me, aside from, the heart attack, but that's an extreme
Other than
case.
that, nothing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So, but nonetheless, what has been observed by my doctor and by myself, obviously, is the fact that I do have these symptoms: dry mouth, weakness. I've got muscle pains. Lately, I've been sweating and nausea and stuff like that. And the only thing that we can surmise as to why these things are happening because I am physically healthy, is the fact that a lot of this stuff is caused by mental health stress. And sometimes what happens is when your mental health is pretty poor, that can lead to effects with your body. So that's what psychosomatic means. Psycho is obviously refers to the mind, and somatic is play on the Greek word soma, which means body. So I've been having psychosomatic symptoms. John, yeah, you're the expert here. What are some of the more common ways that you've sort of seen psychosomatic symptoms show up in people, like your clients and stuff like that?
Well, you can translate psychosomatic almost to just stress, not just stress, but um, the problem I have with the word psychosomatic is that it has been in the past associated with the concept that something is all in your mind.
Hmm.
And so there's an element of a skepticism about psychosomatic. The, the issue is, I see it this way: your body and mind, soul, spirit, whatever, are all integrated, one unified thing, and everything affects everything. For the psychosomatic symptoms to show up, especially, you will get stuff like sweaty palms, butterflies in the stomach, tense muscles, racing heart, things that are associated with stress on the heart, in the mind, associated with the brain being sabotaged by emotions. And what's the emotion that's uh, most prominent here? It would be an anxiety. What makes anxiety strong? Not knowing what's next. What's knowing or what's coming up around the corner? I don't know. We got a plan. I can't follow the plan. Emotions get in the way of the plan. So the body shows signs of this. Pardon me. There is a book by Bezel van der Kolk I may have referred to earlier in our shows called "The Body Keeps the Score."
Hmm.
And in this book, he outlines in great detail how stress can kill you, how it can show up in all kinds of acute diseases, chronic diseases, and so on. So it's a real problem. You will go to a physician, they'll check your heart. Oh, it's okay, the blood's okay. It's still an issue that has to be dealt with. If you're feeling tense and stressed and unhappy, that's a real problem. And it shows up all over the body. Um, you will get a feeling, butterflies in the stomach, nervousness. You'll get a feeling of unease. You get a feeling in the back of your neck. You'll get a sense. You'll get an impression. All these things matter to how you present yourself and find yourself in the world. And you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to take care of yourself in a mental way. If you go to First Nations health literature, you'll see there are 4 domains. They are mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. Those 4 domains, in terms of ancient ancestral wisdoms, need to be looked after. You can't say, go to church and pray and sit down and watch TV all day. You have to kind of have stuff going in all those domains. Um, if you're lonely, you've got to deal with loneliness. If there's nothing that moves you, you don't feel involved with anything in any kind of spiritual way, you got to somehow get in touch with that, whether it be religion, meditation, yoga, something. There has to be something that makes you feel you're part of a higher something or other. And of course, mental health exercises of all kinds and the basic physical stuff matters.
Hmm.
So all this is tied together. I want to talk about treatment for a second.
Sure.
Because if an illness is psychosomatic sounding and so on, people will say, "Well, let's look to psychotherapy and so on." I had a glance at December's issue of Psychology Today, and there's a little article entitled "A Hard Look at Evidence-Based Treatments." A team of psychologists recently analyzed the research on therapies that have been designated empirically supported. That is to say, scientifically sound, good, evidence-based, empirically supported. They found more than 50 treatment types labeled strong, modest, or controversial based on how well supported each one seems.
Hmm.
The team used multiple measures to assess the quality of the studies, flagged as supporting those treatments, including, for example, rates of misreported statistics. Another metric used called replicability replicability index accounts for how well equipped the study actually was to make the reported findings. What they discovered in these treatments that were typically sound was that fewer than half of them were consistently credible on all the metrics.
Hmm.
There's a lot of in other words, the bottom line here, according to this article and this research in December of last year, is you can't just assume because a therapy has some sort of credibility, it's going to work for you.
Yeah, they're about as subjective as people are subjective, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they vary all over the map. So you you as an individual have a right and a responsibility to take care of yourself using the best information you can find. You can't job off that to a healer. You have to work with them, and maybe you try another one, maybe try another one, get a second opinion several times, whatever. But if you have psychosomatic symptoms, they are real. It's good to look at the physical, the somatic issues, and see that you haven't got something underneath that's a problem. But you really owe it to yourself to get the heart to be calm, get the muscles to be tense, get as much, you know, um, peace and joy out of the moment that you're in. And I say that word deliberately, the moment that you're in, as you can, because you know where a lot of stress comes from is that you're living in yesterday or tomorrow.
Hmm.
Like, oh, what's going to happen next year? What's going to, oh, if I have kids, will they be tall or ugly? Or will they be this or that? You get your mind racing in all kinds of uh, ways, and differently wired folks have the ability to think a lot of things quickly. And a lot of these things can be in the form of threats. So living more and more and more precisely in the moment that you're in, um, dealing with what you're dealing with right now, and focusing your attention on this present moment is often a way toward a more peaceful way forward and out of the miasma of self-doubt and anxiety. Sorry, I don't mean to babble on
No,
so
no,
much, but
please, John. Honestly, that's that everything that you said there is great. There's just one thing that you said sort of way back at the beginning that was sort of disturbing to me because when I was doing my research for the topic today, what I did notice that you brought up was the fact that there are a lot of doctors that don't seem to take the issue of psychosomatic symptoms seriously. Like you said, they say it's some of them say that it's all in their mind. Yet
mm,
like compared to what you said about First Nations, what is it you said?
there are four definitions, four domains of healing. That is to say, mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. I have a great respect for that concept and a great respect for that kind of learning.
Right. But is that sort
Um,
of like a cultural tradition, or is that like a part of an
yes,
institute? Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's
yes.
interesting that the First Nations that they would actually harp on the importance of that, whereas I don't know, the secular medicine doesn't really take that as seriously. Um,
No, there's I find there's a lot of wisdom in ancient healings.
True.
There's a lot of value in new technologies and techniques and surgical and drug therapies. There's a lot of wonderful stuff being done, putting broken bodies back together and so on and so forth. But some of the underpinning um, philosophies of healing in older cultures have a lot of wisdom in them that some new techniques don't seem to have.
Hmm. Like sacrificing a lamb. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well,
No,
there you go.
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but
I know, I know.
I agree what you mean. I agree with what you're saying, John. Especially with a lot of the work that I do here, especially lately on the channel. I've been investigating a religious tradition and trying to see what it was in certain practices that certain religions took on that actually seem to have some sort of long term value. And there is wisdom there. There definitely is. Like obviously, they're not all of them are as reliable as traditional medicine, but we cannot throw them out necessarily.
Mm.
And as you just perfectly exemplified there, John, the way that First Nations take this issue a lot more seriously is a good example of that. Um, Now, in regards to anxiety, well, actually, before we move on, I just want to note that Rudiger sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Rudiger. It's very much appreciated. He says, when I was diagnosed, I looked up symptoms of ASD. Now I think I have all of them. How can I find out what's psychosomatic? Well, I mean, what are the things that you're feeling right now? Like, When the symptoms that I get from anxiety, and obviously the anxiety that I have is amplified by the fact that I have autism. The stuff that I've been feeling lately is a tendency to nausea. So especially over the last week or so, if I read something or I think about something that's quite upsetting, I start to feel nauseous. At the moment, right now, I'm feeling a lot of muscle tension in my left shoulder and left arm, and that's because of all the work that I've been doing today. There's going to be a few videos coming out at the end of the week, so stay tuned for that. Oh, and one thing that has been plaguing me for as long as I can remember is when I am feeling even the least bit anxious, I find that I have a really hard time taking deep breaths. So, the best way I can describe this is like, when you take a full deep breath and you can feel your lungs fill up 100%. Well,
Hmm.
when I'm feeling anxious, even just a little bit, if I try to take a deep breath, my lungs will only fill up 85 to 90% of the time. And it can get quite annoying because it's like, okay, I just need that extra 10% because that way I can sort of realize that, okay, I'm okay and I don't have to think about this anymore. But then it just goes on for a couple hours and it's extremely annoying. So if any of those things sound familiar, please let us know. I have my eye on the chat, and we're going to be going for another half hour. John,
There
you have,
is
yeah.
a there is something that's important to note that the vagus nerve goes right to the stem of the brain, way down in your body, and carries stuff from your tummy, from your gut, your brain, back and forth. You get feelings in your gut. If your gut's not well, it will impact your brain. If your brain is not well, it will impact your gut. These are not separate. Like psychosomatic makes them sound separate, but they're not. Messages go back and forth across your body very quickly from section to section. So it is natural and reasonable for your tummy, in some cases, to be upset when something is causing you stress. That's a very reasonable and common symptom of something of stress.
Something just occurred to me, John, while you were just saying that about what we were just talking before about how certain physicians don't take the issue of psychosomatic symptoms seriously. Is it because, like, even though you and I observe it in other people, is it the fact that certain results aren't necessarily reproducible in a laboratory setting that they aren't able to take it seriously?
Well, it actually that is rather like what's happened to ADHD um, as a diagnosis. There are there have been quite a few physicians who say, "Well, it's not really there." It just seems like it might be there.
Hmm.
And then some people say, no, it's real. So many people in the community of ADHD are finding themselves having to defend the idea that there is such a thing. And that is a Western medicine construct.
Hmm.
That is to say, let's find out what's wrong and put a label on it. And if you look at the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual 5, you'll see lots of labels.
Yeah.
I have clients who've had 10, 15 labels. If you look at a more uh, traditional uh, type of healer, you will say, how can we make you feel better? They don't say, can we label the particular thing? Now, sometimes it's important. Like if your leg is broken, we don't want people looking in your ear. Okay, fair enough. You need to pin stuff down and not ignore obvious stuff.
Yeah.
But you can go to a physician, say, my tummy aches. And he says, there's nothing wrong with your tummy. Go home. Your tummy's fine. We gave you this tube and we gave you this medicine. Your tummy's fine. But your tummy's not fine. I saw Emerald Queen with a suggestion right now in the chat room about the breathing, which is important. Breathing is really, really important. She says try breathing in shallower breaths and working your way up to deep full breaths. As you were talking about breathing, I was thinking that going for 100% every time is putting a bit of stress and the world of should on the process, creating anxiety as you're trying to create relaxation.
Hmm.
So Emerald Queen's suggestion is a neat, nuanced way of saying, okay, I'm going to breathe deeply as much as I'm comfortable, and I'm going to breathe out as much as I'm comfortable. So it's not quite forced. it might be a more gentle way to approach it. So I think that's a pretty good thing to explore.
Yeah, you know what, Emerald Queen, I will definitely give that a shot. I mean, any way that I can deal with it, I'll try anything because it's been a bad part of my life for several years. And I'll get back to you on what the results of that are. Um, Before we go on with some other stuff about this topic, I noticed that there have actually been a lot of people listening to the show tonight, which is greatly appreciated. We've seen some pretty high numbers. Thank you to everybody that's listening right now. I love you all dearly. I'm going to take some time just to read some of the things that people are saying in the chat. Um, well, first of all, Necrotoxin, Eliza, she says hi. Hi, Max and John. I say hi back. Um, Let's see. Oh yeah, Lady Payne, who's also Lady Lavender in the Discord server, and she's been doing a lot of great work there for me and for everybody else. She says, "Do you lose your ability to yawn or complete a yawn?" I don't think I've ever had that happen to me, but if it has anything knowing that anxiety has an effect on the way somebody breathes, I'm sure that it's going to affect the way some people yawn. It just doesn't happen for me. Let's see what else here. Josie M. I think Josie M said something about this. She said, after a gastroscopy, I had a doctor said to me, do yoga while he walked away. He was implying the problem was in my head, but like John says, that doesn't mean we should ignore the problem. Little did he know I was already doing yoga 3 times. Oh my God. She said she was doing yoga 3 times a week. Yeah, just yeah, I was gonna say something. Well, you know what? Screw it. John, I understand what you're saying sometimes about doctors and them being overworked and seeming like they don't care, but then sometimes it's just like some of them don't even listen. Probably in Josie's case.
Well, in some cases, folks who are trained in one form of healing won't quite know about the other form of healing. So in Western medicine, this works out to be many specialists of many parts of the body and so on.
True.
So you'll go to a plastic surgeon or an what do you call it, a dermatologist or a gastroenterologist or an internist that specializes in this or that or other. So it is possible to be focusing all the attention on one section of concern. Oh no, you don't have cancer, but we don't do hearts here. So sorry about it. Go to someone else to do hearts. So you can be caught up in a very complex administrative thing if you rely on the various racing around checking. Some of my clients have spent a couple of years chasing diagnoses on various things, and sometimes these diagnoses go across the psycho and the somatic section.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. Yeah, and sometimes they'll be taking 15 medications, and physicians haven't realized. Well, wait a minute. Let's check out the interactions of some of these foreign substances.
Yeah, there could be some really bad combinations.
Sure.
Josie M also says, "Oh my God, same with the breathing, Max. Sometimes I feel like I can't feel my lungs." Well, it's good to know that I'm not the only one. Thank you, Josie. Ryan Boggs said, "I once had some bad persistent chest pains. I had an ultrasound done on my chest to check my heart, and everything was fine. Yeah, turns out I need to get my anxiety under better control and exercise. And that, obviously, exercise is the big thing when it comes to psychosomatic. Just by doing that, being out in nature, or even just."
There's a wonderful emotional, psychological thing that exercise does, and I can't harp on it enough, but it makes you feel more of a sense of agency in your world, more of a sense of control of things. So maybe all you do is go for a long walk in the forest or on the beach, but when you come back, you have done something. And what have you done? Well, I've gone for a long walk. It may not sound like a lot, but it feels like something. It feels nature is better than downtown, metropolitan something or other. But the movement itself gets your body feeling good, and it has an impact on how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, I really need to start doing that. Especially with, I know that a large part of, well, maybe a large part of why I've been feeling terribly is because I haven't been getting enough exercise. I do get a decent amount of exercise at work, but not the kind of healthy, relaxing stuff that I normally do.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much nature walking stuff, outdoors, birds in the trees stuff. How much is that? how much of the natural world are you part of?
Uh, wow, I'm getting a call from a telemarketer. Sorry about that, guys. Obviously, when it's spring and summer, I do a lot more of that actually, which is really nice. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of forested area around where I am, but I do go out for walks, and when I'm trying to get away from my work and trying to reset my mind, that's what I do. Um, just obviously in Canadian winters, the ability to do that is nil. So,
One of my clients told me this morning that they got a Peloton bike. I don't mean to be plugging, but it sounded really exciting.
well, I mean, are we getting
Um,
sponsored?
yeah, it would be nice. These things are thousands of dollars each. But the thing about the Peloton bike, he says he loves it because you can be in a live class virtually, on a screen. He can watch a video of a live class, or he can take a bike ride down a country lane on this screen in front of this cycle. It sounds really exciting. And he says it is the closest thing to being on your bike out in nature, but safe.
Hmm.
You're in your living room. He really made me interested in saving up my pennies to have a look at this Peloton thing. Uh, there was one in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. There is a big mall called Yorkdale Mall, and they have a store that's promoting these Peloton bikes. It's an exciting development in terms of exercise equipment. And it's interesting to me because if you can't get into nature, you can get into nature virtually. And that may be better than, sitting down watching reruns of Breaking Bad or whatever, or playing certain kinds of video games. I
Hmm.
shouldn't say that.
I
But
mean,
you get the picture.
well, one thing you can do, like I suppose, when technology gets there some days, you can actually do video games while using a Peloton. So, like maybe one
There
of the
you
things
go.
is you're riding on a bike and you're trying to go through rings like Sonic or something. But yeah, that sounds cool. If anything's going to make me buy one of those expensive ass VR headsets, it'd probably be something like that. Just
Mm,
imagine being able to hop on your Peloton. You go for a bike ride down the side of a very safe hill, hopefully in some place like Switzerland. That'd be awesome.
that would be awesome. The other interesting thing is that there is no formula that is good for everyone.
Yeah.
And in fact, for everyone who's listening, there is a thing you can do to be more present in the moment and to feel less stress. And you know what that is. You may have to reach in and think about it and think back, but you know what it is because you felt okay. You felt in the moment when you were doing that thing. Hopefully it's legal and so on.
Mm.
But whatever that thing is or that set of things are, like if it's walking, if it's beats, if it's racing, if it's running in the gym, if it's whatever, uh, that's where you go to be more in the flow, as Mihail Csikszentmihalyi talks about the flow, the
Mm.
value of being in the flow. That's the present moment, and not so worried about those things that could have happened, or maybe will happen, or could have, or did happen, or what if they didn't happen. Those kinds of things just cause a lot of stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what was a bit to read? Oh yeah, Horace Lux, who's one of my Subscribe Star supporters and a really good guy. We talk a lot in the after show. He says John is speaking a lot of sense today. Um,
Had to happen sometime. Hey,
yeah,
Lois,
he has his moments of clear perspective.
here you go.
No, we love John.
Me
Yawning.
too.
I love me. He pats himself on the back a lot, just like I do. He says yawning is usually a specific thing tied to trying to over oxygenate a tired brain as a way to perk it up, keep it functioning. I didn't know that. I always thought that when I was a kid. I remember reading somewhere that scientists don't actually know why we yawn, but it's. I'll take your word for it, dude. Let's see. Well, actually, before we read some more of the comments, we do have a couple of other things that we want to do before we get towards the end of the show, and we are getting there. But before we get to those things, I just want to remind you guys there are 71 of you watching, and we've gotten almost up to 80, which is awesome. That's a new record for us. It's really encouraging to see that you guys are getting a lot out of the show and more people are catching on to it. It means that when you guys are liking and sharing the show, that or when I'm asking you to, you guys are actually doing it. And like I said, it's paying off. And speaking of which, please, if you haven't liked the stream yet, make sure that you do hit that like button, smash it real hard, because well, not so much that your computer stops working. It's a metaphor. Um, you can never be too careful. When you do that, it tells the YouTube algorithm that our content is worth watching, and it will pass it around into the recommended feeds of people all over the world. And some of those people, those hypothetical people, might be people that are struggling right now mentally and might need a nice community to come to where they can learn about things that might help them out. So make sure you like it and share it. Both of those things really help. So, and one other thing before we go into the mailbag, because we do have mailbag here. I just wanted to ask you guys if we have some time at the end of the show, we'd love to see some of you guys talking about what your own psychosomatic symptoms are in the chat. We'd love to read them out before we conclude the show today. Okay. So with that out of the way, let's get into the aforementioned mailbag. So every week, John and I like to go into our email and see what you guys are sending us. Questions, stories, whatever. It can pertain to the topic that we're discussing today, or it could be whatever you guys want to talk about. It really doesn't matter. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to discuss whatever you have on your mind. And if you want to send in whatever is on your mind to us, you can send it to us at any time to this email address that you see on screen right now. That is maxderrat@yahoo.ca. Once again, that is maxderrat, all one word, at yahoo.ca. So we got a couple of email questions today. One's a pretty short one. We'll start with the longer one of the two. This one comes to us from Game Boy Advance. I loved having a Game Boy Advance when I was a kid. Love playing Pokemon on it. He says, greetings and Happy New Year's. Well, greetings and Happy New Year's to you. First off, I thank you, Mr. Derrat, very much for the content you post, especially the Asperger's Autism Spectrum Disorder content. I started to watch your channel mid to late December, and I got to admit, it's amazing to see what good the algorithm could sometimes... Yeah, you're not... No kidding, dude. You're absolutely right. And thank you, Mr. Tucker, for being a part of a very important mission for everyone to understand their conditions. I'm very new to this, and I'm quite nervous about writing this because I want to leave a very good impression. I do... Don't ever worry about it. Honestly, we're not judgmental people at all. I just judge John, and he judges me. But
Of course.
yeah, absolutely. That's
just to practice, just to keep our right brains working.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the left brain way.
Keep us on our toes, keeps us original. This year, I felt a very deep depression that caused me to have mood swings and really unpleasant thoughts. While my therapist and case manager have helped me, I know that I would have to be on my own during the holiday break. In the past few days, I've had friends close to me tell me directly that I can reach them on privately. However, I still have a strong anxiety about it. I feel like if I've said something that would offend them or not take their advice for any reason, I would be a backstabber to them. I've had a bad past in high school when I had certain old or ex-friends lie to me, use me, backstab me, not take my advice, or worst of all, say that I'm not even helping. As I entered the world of adulthood, I made it a principle to not become like those people who hurt me, to put myself last and to put my friends and other people first. I grew a self-awareness for myself to make sure my ego doesn't get toxic. I will stop here because I know it's too long and I apologize for it, but I'm looking for answers to feel more comfortable about opening up. Well, before I read the very last part here, dude, your email is relatively conservative compared to some of the emails that we get. And don't get me wrong, we appreciate all of them. I'm just talking about length. Keep up the good work. I love the channel. I love seeing the community interact on YouTube, Twitter, and Discord, although I'm a lurker and I'm very hesitant to interact. May the both of you, the Aspie Nation, and everyone have a prosperous 2020. Thank you very much, Gameboy. John, do you want me to take this first, or do you want to go first?
Sure. No, go right ahead. I've been blabbing all night.
Okay. What I'll just say, look, in regards to your friends, if they like being around you, if they truly are your friend, what I think you should do is just tell them about what you're feeling. Tell them that, look, you're very afraid of offending them. You really want them to feel like their opinions and advice are cherished, even if they aren't used. If you get across to them sort of the struggles that you are having, and that you really do value what they have to say, even if you might not always use the advice that they're offering, then I don't see how they can possibly view that as you backstabbing them in any way. Like, there are a couple other things I want to say, but just I want to reread what you said. John, do you have can you add here?
That I have?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you don't have anything to say?
Well, no, I don't think you're finished.
Oh, well, I was just wondering if you had something like if you could just take over for a
Okay,
second
well,
while I'm reading,
oh,
rereading.
sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, all right. I do have a couple of things I could say about this. One is it's a very interesting, nuanced email, and Game Boy shows him or her, I'm not sure. Oh, him, I guess. Good
Yeah.
boy. Uh, as a sensitive, thoughtful person. Now, uh, you may be more worried than you need to be, but it is wise to look at what you have done and learn from it as you have done it and make a decision. I don't like this way of behaving. I think this way of behaving is a better way. I think that's really a grown up approach to the way you live your life. You're not going to say, I had this opinion when I was 6 years old and it's good enough, or 10 years old, or 16 years old. No, it's good to keep growing. And so, well done on that. Now, in order to protect yourself from the slings and arrows of outrageous relationships, you could identify people that seem more trustworthy
Mm,
and focus the kind of conversation Max was talking about on them and use them as like how should I say, as partners to develop this conversation a bit. So it might be a very limited number of people, but people you feel most comfortable with that you can explore this opening up with. And
yeah.
sometimes it's not going to work the way you'd like it to. Sometimes you'll be betrayed. Somebody, you'll say something, you'll open up to somebody, and they'll tell somebody, and then that other person will say, "Yeah, yeah, I knew you were whatever it is they want to say." So you know, it is possible that it will backfire sometimes, but you need to tentatively reach out to where you establish a certain sense of a solid path forward.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I remember the one last thing I wanted to say, dude. In regards to your friends from high school, look, as somebody also that went to high school and has autism, I had a lot of the same experiences that you did, where people would be quite would betray me in a lot of different ways and act cruelly to me in needless ways. I strongly urge you to not base your interactions at this stage in your life based on the way that certain people acted in high school. Um, if you sort of approach them with sort of the diplomatic approach that I and John just sort of promoted to you, I think that you'll find that you have a lot more success now than you did in the past. That's certainly been the case for me. And, you know, you made perfect sense in this email. I can tell that you're a nice guy. So try not to, I know it's easier said than done, but try not to worry about it too much. And by the way, I see you actually listening live in the chat right there, Game Boy. He says, "Thank you for reading my email, Max. Sorry if it sounded confusing. No, not at all, dude. Perfectly legible." And he says, "Thank you,
Mm,
Max, John, and chat. I will take all of your advices." Boom. Awesome, dude.
that's good. Good.
Awesome possum. All right, let's move on to the second email. This might be a record for the shortest email that we've ever received. It comes to us from Luke Hoisington. He says, "Hey Max, I'm Luke Hoisington." He put it in brackets, Hoisington. Hoisington. "And I have Asperger's and have major trouble with self control, whether that means spending, emotions, sleeping when I should, sticking to my plans, constantly changing my mind about decisions, etc. How do you cope with this? Thanks. Love the channel." Um, well, it's
Wow, he said a lot in a very succinct way.
yeah, it's a very dense paragraph, dude. Um,
Yeah.
okay, well, first of all, uh, it's a it's a life. Well, I don't know if it's a lifelong struggle, but it's a long enough struggle, and it's something that everybody that has ASD or Asperger's, whatever you want to call it, deals with. So if you have trouble for a while, don't lose hope, dude. The most important piece of advice that I can offer to you in regards to managing all the stuff that you mentioned there is to go one at a time. Try to, yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
that's exactly what I would have said. One step at a time. If you try to manage all of it, it's overwhelming and your brain gets overloaded and your emotions get overloaded. So it's good to pick the low hanging fruit on this. What is the thing that you think there's the best chance of you making a positive change in? When you do that one positive change thing, that will give you the courage and the sense to move the bar along in other things.
Mm.
So, if you look at spending emotions, one of those is more easy for you to manage than another. So you might need to discuss it with a trusted friend, but I think, Max, that one thing at a time is the best way to deal with that. And it will be the other part of this is you were about to say a lifelong something, and I'm thinking instead of struggle, why not think of it as a lifelong project?
Yeah.
This is a project. You know, I have this stuff to do. I'm going to learn to do this better. Okay, let me see. Tick off the boxes. Yeah, I did that better. Oh, this one's so good. So it's kind of like you're moving out of the emotional entanglement and more into the observing of yourself way of thinking.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So, and like John said, in regards to choosing which one works best for you, obviously that's a you thing. It's subjective to you. One thing I might recommend, though, in order to be able to deal with all this sufficiently, a great place to start is with the sleep thing. Because as you know, the whole
Mm.
topic today is psychosomatic, and one thing that is going to affect that greatly is how much sleep you're getting, or when you are choosing to go to bed and wake up. And in terms of the work that's put into it, I think it's of everything that you said there. It's, at least to me, it seems like the easiest. So when you set yourself like a reasonable time to go to bed and wake up, once you got that cemented and it's become a part of your daily routine, the list becomes shorter. You have a lot more energy, and the things that are causing you a lot of great stress right now suddenly don't seem as difficult to challenge. Then after that, you might go to uh, let's see, sticking to your plans. Well, you got the plan of sticking with the constant sleep schedule. After that, it'll probably be easier to uh, follow up on the things that are a part of your daily agenda. So
Well, you're right, Max, because if your sleep is all over the map, your plans are not going to work, right?
yeah,
So the sleep schedule itself is an essential structure in sticking to plans.
yeah, it's a foundation, and you build up from
Yeah,
there.
it's a foundational thing. So it's a really good place to start. It may not be the one that Luke actually chooses to start with, but if there's a good default one, sleeping control is a very good one to start with.
Mhm. Okay. Well, thank you very much for sending that in, Luke. Hopefully, we addressed your question sufficiently. We do have a couple minutes before John goes. I just wanted to read a couple of comments quickly, see if there's anything we can work off of before we conclude. Horace Lux.
Sid has raised a
Yep.
very interesting issue about motivation to exercise, and I've often come across that with my clients. And what we find is the exercise that you will do is the best one. If you don't want to do any, then you can do a very small thing that is regular,
Mhm.
a very small regular thing. It could be very short. There are exercise apps that are called 7 minutes because that's the length of the exercise,
Yeah.
7 minutes.
7 minute abs.
No? Yeah.
Well, I mean, don't actually. I don't know if those are actually legitimate, but that like
Oh
John
yeah,
is. Oh, they are.
very very powerful. Yep.
Oh.
Yep. There's one I've been using for years that is very taxing,
Oh
and
no.
it's 7 minutes.
I'm not. Oh, okay. Well, I'll take your word for it, John. You obviously know more about this stuff than I do.
Way
Um.
more, heck.
Well, when it comes to exercise, pretty much everybody knows more than I do. Well, Red and Vodka just happened to say, Max, love your videos on the Taos Principle. Thanks, dog. I like your avatar there from The Watchmen. That's another video I should probably do something on The Watchmen, either the movie or the book, probably the graphic novel. Um, let's see. JJ, I've learned I have to be very specific when asking for help, goal oriented. Yeah, that helps. If you think about how you want to communicate to people, what you want, the way that you communicate it, obviously, uh, is a good place to start. Um, let's see. Oh, Emerald Queen makes a great point. If they're real friends, she's addressing Game Boy Advance. If they're real friends, then they'll have your back regardless. Open up to them if you need help. Absolutely agree. And Nick Nicholson, another one of my Subscribe Star supporters. Good to see you, dog. Said it's all about finding a physical activity you enjoy doing. It could be just walking 5 miles with your headphones on. Yeah, that's what I enjoy doing. Or it could be something shorter than that. Annabelle says John hasn't seen something about Mary. Yeah, I'm glad somebody got that reference. Thank you, Annabelle. John, you haven't seen There's Something About Mary, have you?
Nope.
Oh, yeah. There's a joke in there about 7-minute abs. There's this guy in there. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a living selling tapes about 7-minute abs," and then the character that Ben Stiller plays, well, it's like it's gonna be all well and good until somebody comes out with 6-minute abs, and then the 7-minute abs guy just starts having a meltdown.
Emerald Queens just mentioned dancing to exercise. That's a fantastic way to exercise. Putting on cardio type music and bopping around the living room,
yeah,
or wherever.
That's what I used to do. Little known fact about yours truly, I actually learned when I was much younger, like this was like 10 years ago, I actually used to dance like Michael Jackson. No joke.
Phew.
It's tough.
Oh, looks like I gotta head out the door or I'll turn into a pumpkin.
Okay. Well, thanks as always, John. I'll look forward to you and I doing this next week, as always.
See you later, Max.
All right, peace out. Well, thanks, guys. We have come to we do these for 50 minutes, so we have reached 7:50, which means we have to end the show. Thank you so much to everybody that's watching right now. And Horace Lex in the chat says, "Hey." Yeah, well, I didn't do that. My voice isn't that high pitched. Honestly, back to concluding the show. Thank you so much to everybody that decided to tune in and watch us live. Listen, if you haven't liked the show yet, make sure you do. Share, subscribe. Believe me, it really helps us when you do that. We do the show every Wednesday at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If obviously this show will be up later after we're done, so that you can watch it pre-recorded. And also, if you want to get the audio version of the show, so they can put it on your iPod or I don't know, Spotify or whatever app that you guys listen to your audio stuff on, you can actually get that. You can go to the Subscribe Star account page. It's our cheapest option. If you just give us, if you donate $1 a month, you can get the audio version of the show up to date every single week. Honestly, guys, it is a great way to help us. Although, like I said, I understand if you can't donate, if you can't, honestly, it's pretty much just as helpful to just like, share, and subscribe. Yeah. Let's see. 77 watching. I was also just about to mention before John left, we actually hit over 80 people watching. That's a new record for the show. I'm very happy about that. I love you guys dearly. We couldn't do the show without your support, and we look forward to doing it more, like just continuing this long into the future. We got some great plans that we hope to announce sometime in the next couple weeks for the show, for the audio version, and for the channel on the whole. Make sure you look out. I think I'm going to be releasing 2 videos on Friday and then another video on Saturday. Yeah, I'm going to be releasing 3 videos before the end of the week, so stay tuned for that. But until that time, I just want to remind you guys, as always, make sure you remember to stay yellow.